Welcome everybody to Somewhere in Vegas here on Spreaker.com. I am Mark the Q. I am your host. My guest at this time, well, it's kind of really poignant to have her on right now. We're coming out of Black History Month. We're going into Women's History Month. And she's definitely someone that's making really solid history in terms of the legal practices. She is currently the managing partner over at the Cochran Firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have Faith Fox with us right now. How you doing, Faith?
Really great. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. This is a story that that comes from how you've kind of gotten to where you are is just absolutely unbelievable. The ability to go from being a single mom to becoming one of the top lawyers in the country. I mean, that's kind of almost unbelievable. Tell me a little bit about how this kind of journey kind of started.
Well, I have to correct you. I am nowhere near one of the top attorneys in the country. I'm very fortunate to be a part of the Cochran Firm, which is full of amazing attorneys, and I'm glad to be among them. But I certainly wouldn't put myself in that category. I think that the journey to get here has been a long one, but also really educational and exciting along the way. And I'm really glad to be in a position to make a bigger difference, not just in the Charlotte community, but I think some of the cases that I have right now could really make an impact on the country as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you're coming from a place where you were a single mom, and you kind of just, bore down and said, I want to become a lawyer. Because there are people that cannot speak for themselves, and you were in that position as well. How was that for you to be able to be able to make it to that point where you're becoming a successful lawyer, and being able to help like young moms like yourself that have had the same problems back in the day.
Well, I think that because I've had my own, horrific legal experiences, it really, you never really know what's going to motivate you to make a difference for yourself, for your kids, for anybody. And so going through, a particularly contentious custody battle and having to deal with a lot of the issues that a lot of people kind of deal with regards to abuse. And, I wasn't someone who was physically abused by my ex-husband, but the mental abuse, the emotional abuse was probably just as damaging with regards to the effect that it can have on a person. And it definitely affected me in a negative way. And so, I kind of was at the end of my rope after a custody hearing. I really felt like the attorney on the other side did some pretty unscrupulous things and took advantage of the fact that I didn't have counsel, and really put me in a position where I didn't really know which way to turn. I didn't have any money. It's always unfortunate that you have people who are constantly going through family law type issues in the court, and the parent who's doing all the heavy lifting, the parent who's doing all the work, the day-to-day with the kids, those are generally the parents that don't have enough money to hire counsel. Lawyers are expensive. And even in the position I'm in, I do my best to work with families like mine so that they're able to have counsel. But I also have to pay my bills as well. And so, I try to work with people. And in the past, I've had some pretty generous payment plans and things like that, which I was really, really okay with offering. Unfortunately, there's always people that kind of ruin those situations and don't follow through on the agreements that they've made. And much like myself as a single mom, as a solo practitioner, I wasn't really in a position to sue everybody that didn't pay me. And so I had to stop kind of extending myself in that way and try to find other ways to be useful that allowed me to still be able to sustain myself and my family financially. So it is really important to me to be an attorney who's accessible and available to clients who remind me of myself especially. Not necessarily moms, but just single parents who are in a position where they need competent legal counsel, and being able to provide that and being able to let them know, even if I can't represent you, I can certainly work with people to represent themselves, and I've done that on a number of occasions, and those people have been successful in court without the high cost of litigation. So I'm really proud of the fact that, while I had to go through some pretty tough obstacles to get here, I am really proud of the way that I've been able to give back in the sense and work with families like mine, because when I needed someone for that, there was no one available.
And again, just being a single mom and wanting to become a lawyer, how was it for you to balance that between, doing your motherly duties, and then, studying to become a lawyer as well? How did you balance that out?
Well, it was really tough. I thankfully had a pretty nice support system who would help me out with babysitting, picking up the kids from school on certain days, and a really nice circle of friends who would call me, even if I hadn't called them, to say, hey, I know you're studying, I know you probably have a lot going on, let me take the kids off your hands for a couple hours, or let's spend the night. And so having that kind of support from the people around me was really important. I certainly could not have gone to law school and continue to be a good, decent mom without that type of support. And so it was hard. I cried a lot. I felt, and I felt like this is the best thing for my family, but it also required all of us to make sacrifices. We weren't able to do a lot of the things that we were able to do before I started law school. Even my ability to cook dinners every night changed, and my kids missed my cooking. They missed certain meals that I used to make. They missed having game night and movies, and just getting in the car to drive around because we were in a new city, a new community. And so I beat myself up about that a lot, and really had to remind myself that the end game and the final goal was to be able to support my family in a way that I couldn't at the time. And so it was never really easy. It was very difficult. I cried a lot. I prayed a lot. I leaned on people quite a bit. And I think that without that, I know for certain without that type of support, I wouldn't have been able to have the success that I've had. I would have never been able to get through law school without it.
I'm guilty sometimes of not wanting to do stuff on my own and not asking for help, and that seems to be sometimes the toughest thing, to be able to ask people for help, or have people say, "Oh, I want to help you," and feeling so proudful that you don't want to be a burden to them as well. I think that's something that I don't think gets addressed a lot much often. But I think that sometimes you just need that little bit of help in order to get by and to be able to accomplish what you want to get accomplished. So yeah, it's amazing to have a supportless system like that.
I agree 100%. Even when I was in the middle of it, I was reluctant to ask for help. But you get to a point where you just don't really have a choice, and then it becomes, who are you going to ask for help? Because you don't want to finally break down and ask someone and then they tell you no. So I think it's hard, but it's something that you need to do, not only to sustain the life that you're trying to build, but also to take care of your mental and emotional health, and to make sure that you're paying attention to at least an ounce of self-care, because you have to sleep, you have to eat, you have to drink water. There's things that have to happen on a daily basis for you to be able to continue to move in the way that you're used to moving. But even now in my office, when I need help, I have an assistant and I have people, of course, the staff, but there are times when I know I'm overwhelming them, I'm overwhelmed myself. And there are attorneys in the community who will say, hey, do you want me to come over on Saturday for a few hours and help you with this? Or do you want me to come and help you with that? And so I do have a nice small network of attorneys where we're willing to help each other where we can. All of us are pretty much overwhelmed and have plenty of work to do, but have always tried to find the time to help each other out when necessary. It's
been interesting. It's been an interesting couple of years in terms of how how lawyers have been portrayed, especially now. We're seeing quite a few shows that have women of color that are representing lawyers on these major series. How's it been for you to see something like that in terms of, I think it's almost very encouraging for women of color to, strive to do like you do and become a lawyer. Tell me a little bit about that. How encouraging is that for you to be able to see that, to have a powerful black woman, in a really lead role in some of these series, and you're basically the real life kind of personification of this, where you're right now a managing partner of a firm. What's that been like for you to be able to see that?
I can't even tell you how exciting it is to see black women in these positions on television. For the longest time, we could barely get professional roles on television, much less a doctor or a lawyer or some type of a professor. So I think Shonda Rhimes has single-handedly cornered the market on building positive black images on television, and I personally am grateful for that, because not only do I enjoy it as an entertainment source, it also, I do feel a sense of pride for the fact that there are other black women out there who are achieving their goals and setting a great example for all of us in the process. With regards to the shows and how realistic they are, I mean, the closer you get to anything in real life, you realize that television really and movies really are entertainment. And so, the How to Get Away with Murders and the scandals and all of those kind of things, as a lawyer watching those shows, it's a great entertainment source, but generally not the best resource for understanding how the law works in reality. I think that the first season of How to Get Away with Murder was exciting to see because of all of the black faces and the positive images, but one thing I really didn't enjoy about the show is that they always, and I don't practice criminal defense, but in just about every television series, criminal defense attorneys get a really bad rap, almost like they're just criminals themselves. And I don't like that particular portrayal. And so also, all of her interns were first-year law students, and they, never went to class. So those kind of things are kind of amusing when you're watching it and you understand that this is an impossible lifestyle to maintain that they have on the series and compared to real life. In real life, in law school, you don't really get to spend a lot of time with your friends. You're always reading or studying or researching or writing, and so there's not a whole lot of time for extra stuff. But I do appreciate the entertainment value. I love seeing myself reflected and people like me reflected on television, and I certainly hope that continues. It's really nice just to see Jessica Pearson and Olivia and all of these other attorneys that you see on television. It's nice to see it, even if there are aspects of it that are completely unrealistic.
Yeah, I mean, filing a brief isn't that exciting, as they say. So it's, yeah, there are parts of it. I mean, obviously, with a lot of the shows, they are dramatically affect everything like that. I mean, CSI is not anything like what a CSI would do. So right, yeah, there's always those aspects. I would almost say that this is more of a recruitment video than anything like that. And it's, once you get into the brass tacks of what you actually do for a living, yeah, it's a way different than what you would see on TV. So I have to tend to agree with you on that. I mean, it's great to be able to, like I said, see that kind of representation coming on as well. So I'm hoping that like I said, more young ladies will you'll see that people like yourself can make it to a high position of authority, as it were, too. So it's great to be able to see that. I want to talk a little bit about some of your early career, too. I mean, it's very interesting as well. You actually were in the entertainment business after college, right?
I was. I worked in the music industry for probably close to 15, maybe 14 or 15 years. And in the process, I was able to work with some really, award-winning artists and groups. Worked with George Duke, who's a jazz musician that a lot of your listeners may be familiar with. And working with him, I really had some interesting interactions with people that I was a huge fan of them, but never really knew their real names. So I